Afternoon, welcome. And firstly, apologies to people who were joining us on YouTube live. Unfortunately, I have no clue why it didn't work, but it didn't work. I'm going to blame the storm, I think, but it could be some other problem. But unfortunately, we couldn't get it to actually live stream. But not to worry. We've recorded this, and hopefully, this is finding you okay and everything's working just fine. So, thank you for joining us for our last closing session of Involvement Week 25. And wow, what a week it's been. I think it's safe to say it's been hugely successful. We've had so many people joining us across the week on our sessions, so many people engaging across social media as well. I think we've really shone a spotlight on the fantastic work that's been done up and down the country when it comes to engagement. So thank you to everyone who's taken part. I think with this closing session, what I just wanted to do is a quick recap of what's happened throughout the week, just a bit of a reminder, or maybe it's a refresh for people as well. And then just finish off with some of the key themes that I think came through from the week. And then that'll be it for another year. So, in terms of the week, we kicked off on Monday on day one with our session from the regulator. Again, it's always great to have the regulator join us. I think it's a fantastic insight and an opportunity to hear directly from the people who matter when it comes to enforcing regulation in social housing. Their session was absolutely fantastic in terms of the numbers of people asking questions too. So that's always great to see. I think the message from them, it's all about outcomes. What they're looking for is what difference does engagement make? What's happening as a result of it? And I think it's important to make sure, from their perspective, they can see evidence that shows that. So really interesting to get a focus on that and also look at the transparency, influence and accountability standards in a little bit more detail. We followed that up in the afternoon with a really good session that involved our accredited landlords. So Gen2 and Hull Council came along. They joined in a session around the TPAS accreditation. And again, really interesting to hear from them about how accreditation really changed culture and behaviours and expectations. And it really sort of gave us an insight into really how high the bar can be when it comes to engagement if you want to achieve some fantastic outcomes. It certainly is something worth looking at and can be a really, really useful tool. So day two, this was all about involvement on the ground. So that grassroots stuff that's so important. We talked about TARAs in the morning, Tenants and Residents Associations. We addressed some of the challenges around that, but also looked at some real solutions as well and looked at how we can start to work better to strengthen Tenants and Residents Associations and also amplify their success stories as well. And I think that was true in the afternoon when we actually got a couple of our landlords, Vico Homes and St Ledger. Their tenants came along and talked about the fantastic projects that they're doing in their communities. And I think it really reminded us that there's so much that goes on across communities, estates, in community halls, in neighbourhoods, that is really fantastic work. So it was great to hear from them. Day three, we took a lens really to the future and started talking a little bit more about what engagement might be like going forward and how we can harness technology and different methods. So we heard from Rajiv, who talked about AI and also looked at ChatGPT in some detail and how that maybe can support engagement and how we can use that more effectively to ensure that engagement, can progress and can be more efficient and effective going forward. And then Caritas, he brought us some creative methods as well in the afternoon. So that was great to hear some of the things that's happening in different areas. So using the arts, using things around deliberative democracy, which was interesting, and also things that, really got us to think about more digital tools as well. So day four came along at pace. This was all about inclusion and representation, a fabulously interactive session from Kai. Again, looking at her report around ethnic minority engagement and really bringing that to life with lots of interactive engagement as well. And a real sort of insight, I think, into how important that area of work is for not just as a TPAS, but also people across the country as well that we heard from. We also launched, as part of that, our free TPAS programme around ethnic involvement, and I think that is something to look out for all our members going forward. The afternoon, we were joined by our friends at Stonewall Housing. They really sort of gave us a great insight into their LGBTQ plus pledge, and we heard from a couple of organisations that have put that into practice as well, which really brought it to life. There was some really personal stories shared on that session as well, and I think that really brought home, certainly to me and probably to others on there, just how important it is that people can feel that they have a seat at the table and their voices listened to. And then to today, a 2-hour session, we had about 11 organisations, I think, join us. Some fantastic stories. It's really, really, I think, a real insight into the stuff that goes on that we just don't know about. So just hearing from them, those 11 organisations, was absolutely tremendous today. We heard about Tara's and how that was being set up, community ambassadors, community pantries, scrutiny panels and what work they're doing, scrutiny panels joining together from other sort of landlords and coming together in a collaboration, which was fantastic. We also heard about some great training that's been done up there in Wigan to ensure that operatives are really seeing the person and not stereotyping and treating people properly and their homes as they should. And then we heard about roadshows, getting out there, staff talking to people on the doorstep, and some real, I think, insight in terms of how important it is to just let the conversation flow. I can't finish this section though without giving a shout out to Joan. Joan's from Citizen, and she's been doing 50 years of activism and challenging discrimination. So big shout out to Joan. It was great to hear from you today. So those were the sessions, but there was loads going up on social media as well. So I've got to mention that. If you did contribute on social media, thank you. Some amazing stories, really spotlights, again, just the fantastic work that's going on across the country. So thank you for sharing those with us. We do appreciate that. So just to finish off then, in terms of the 3 themes that stood out to me, I think the first one was certainly around diversity, visibility, and ensuring real influence. I think the tenant voice is at the strongest when we make sure that it's a diverse range of voices that are being heard. And I think it's important that when that genuinely does shape decisions, we get the best decisions. So it's not just about listening to a select few, it's about making those efforts to ensure that we've got a real diverse range of voices that are being heard using a diverse range of methods as well. So that did stand out, and that cut across every single session. I think, you know, how important it is to listen to all voices where possible and make sure there's opportunities for people to contribute regardless of demographics. The second thing that stood out, and I've mentioned this probably far too many times already, but I've just been blown away by the amazing work that's already been done out there. It didn't really highlight any gaps for me this week. It highlighted loads of strengths and things I didn't know about, and I'm sure lots of other people didn't know about. We've seen outstanding engagement, you know, real innovation, lots of pride and commitment and determination from tenants to really improve things as well. So the sector's doing some brilliant work. Not to say we should rest on our laurels. I'm not saying that, you know, things can always get better. But to just see condensed into this week some of the stuff that's going off out there has really sort of given me a real boost and a real lift. And I know it has done to lots of other people as well. So the third theme, and it probably sounds daft this and it's common sense, but engagement first and always is about people, isn't it? You know, it's a simple thing to say, but behind every, you know, improvement, every scrutiny recommendation, every service change, every bit of community initiative or growth, there are people giving their time, people sharing their lived experiences, people challenging constructively, supporting each other, caring as well, and really pushing for better. And I think that to me is what makes engagement so successful. But it also really brings home the fact that engagement doesn't work because of frameworks or strategies. It works because people make it work. and the fantastic people we've had, as part of Involvement Week really demonstrates that. So I think that probably just brings me into the close, really, that theme around people. We've had some brilliant people on our sessions this week: members, non-members, tenants, residents, councillors, board members. Whole range of different people have joined us to share their stories, to be part of conversations, or just listen to some of the things that have been going on. And again, that's been replicated on social media as well. So I want to end by saying a huge thank you to everyone who's taken part in this week of storytelling, of success, of best practice, of case studies. I want to thank you all, because it's really been something I think that we can all look back on and celebrate and keep pushing for better as well as we go through the next year. So please do keep sharing your stories, keep celebrating your wins. We'd love to champion whatever you're doing at TPAS and keep telling everyone how important engagement is across the board. And yeah, I think we may just do it all again this time in 2026. So thank you, everyone. Look after yourselves, take care, and hopefully we'll see you again very soon. Thanks. Bye.